Who are you?
My name is Quinn. Hi.
What are your passions?
My passions. Oh, definitely music. I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory. I like film, and I guess I'm a big reader.
Where are you from?
I am from like the Haddam, Killingworth area. Kind of been here my whole life. Of Connecticut, that is.
And when did your passions develop?
Pretty early on, I remember singing in the car, like when I was like 4 or 5, and I wrote my first song at 8 years old. So I've definitely been doing the music thing for a long time.
And how have your passions evolved from like their conception?
Well, I definitely have learned a lot since then. Not only just like emotionally and like as a person, but musically. And although I'm not the best at music theory, I have learned some music theory. So that I would say it has grown in that way.
And why do you do what you do?
It's something that I don't know. I always wanted to do something that I loved. I didn't want to ever have a job that I didn't care about. And so I decided that music was it because I love singing. I love everything about it. And I also came to this point in my life where I decided that I wanted to write music, not only to help me, but because I wanted other people to hear it and connect to it. And I don't know, just because there were things in my life that I wish I had heard when I was younger, things in songs or lines in songs. And I
Mhm.
thought I could do that though and give back to some other maybe little kid listening to music.
Can you take me back to when you were 8 years old and that first song that you wrote?
Yeah. Um, my mom's work had a talent show like every year. So I wrote a little song for it about my sister. It was very short. And my choir director at the time heard about it through my mom, and she wrote a little piano piece to it, and we performed it at my mom's work talent show.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's silly to think about.
Do you have the lyrics saved from that song or anything like that? Like, has that influenced your current songwriting?
I don't know if I would say it like influenced it, but I don't know. I definitely still write about like other people in my life as much as I feel I write about my own experiences. So,
Mhm.
you know.
How would you say your songwriting, like your lyrics and stuff, have evolved over the years?
Hmm. I have tried to make them more realistic. I think when I was a little bit younger that they'd be more like not conceptual, but not even like all over the place. They weren't bad. They were just more like story based. And I still feel like I tell a story in my songs, but I try to make it more like hard hitting. So to say things that I feel are like so genuinely real. Because I'm inspired by a lot of similar artists who write in that way and who say lines that when I hear them, I'm like, oh my God, like, how did they describe that feeling so well?
Hmm.
The English vocabulary, like, so I think that's how it's evolved. It's just kind of me trying to be as genuine as possible.
Do you have specific artists in mind when you say those artists that are so like realistic?
Yeah, the first person that I think about is actually Hobo Johnson, whose music is definitely nothing like mine, but just when I hear some of the things that he says, it's like, I don't know, kind of incredible to me to think that someone could phrase things in a way that just hits so accurately.
Do you have any influences on the new record, Depression Now?
Yeah, I definitely was influenced by artists like the Front Bottoms. There was a band that actually opened for the Front Bottoms when I saw them live called Bad Bad Hats. and I definitely am inspired by their sound. I think it's so fun and not interesting, but kind of like it has a good groove to it, kind of vibey and all of that fun stuff. I'd say probably Paramore. A lot of people kind of give me that relation sometimes, but I definitely am inspired by them just because I feel their music is so fun. And although Depression App's pretty sad, I like to think that the style is similar.
Did you like the new Front Bottoms album?
Yes, Going Gray.
The one that came out in August, In Sickness and in Flames.
I haven't listened to that one. I forgot they did that.
It was kind of like low key, but I've heard some good things. I haven't personally listened to it yet, but I actually caught the Going Gray tour that and had Bad Hats open for them, and I thought they were pretty good.
Yeah, that's very like what a small world, you know. Like we all,
Yeah,
I always find people that are like, yeah, I went to that show at College Street Music Hall too. I'm like, dang,
it
you're
kind of
all
makes you wonder if you like saw someone, you know.
right. Probably just without even knowing.
Could you tell me about the recording process for Depression Nap?
Yeah, um, I recorded up in a studio in Boston, Massachusetts, and it was like over a series of like a few months. I'd go up, and luckily I had a friend up there who was living up there at the time, so he let me stay over at his place, which was really nice of him. And I'd go to the studio. We did like the pre-production, kind of like to make to conceptualize the songs, to like figure out the structure that we wanted to end with, and what instruments were like going to be playing on them and everything. Then we like got to actually like recording all the pieces, kind of, you know, like in the steps of like drums, bass, guitar, vocals, and it went through the, you know, the post-production as well. But it was really fun. It was like really crazy to be in like a professional studio, just to be around all that equipment. And I feel like I also was able to learn a lot about just all these different aspects of the production world, which I was not aware of. So it was really fun.
And Quinn evolved from a solo project to a band. Was that before, during, or after? Well, not after, but like before, during Depression Nap.
I always knew I wanted to be in a band. Ever since I was a kid, I always like had this kind of like fascination with like the friendship and the bond that really grows from being in a band, being able to collaborate to make something. And it did start as a solo project, Depression Nap and Quinn and everything, but I always knew that like my goal was to get more people involved. Actually, on the Depression Nap EP itself, I play with a bassist who was part of my band for a while. His name is Zach Gomez, and he played all the bass parts except for Give It a Go, I think. And just like a great guy, but it kind of like proved to me like, yeah, like I want to be playing with other people because they give so much to the music. Like I wrote like the original song, but the bass part that he wrote made the song too. Like it brought it up to a complete other level, I felt.
And were there band members credited on Depression Nap as well, or is it more like studio musicians? Or
So it was studio musicians aside from Zach and I.
Mhm.
So I played some of the guitar, and I obviously did the vocals on the EP, but he did all the bass except for that one song. There was a studio drummer as
Mhm.
well. Yeah. All very good guys, though.
Do you have plans to work with the studio musicians like outside of the studio, or do you think it'll just be a one thing for the EP?
I think a one thing for the EP, just because they're like all the way up in Massachusetts as well. And the guys that I'm working with right now are really talented. And I think that um, there would be no reason to really like step away from working with them right now.
How long have the songs been around?
Oh, the oldest song I know from on the EP is Tiny Talks. And that song would be about 3, maybe 4 years old. I wrote it around the time that I quit this job I was working at full time. And I was kind of like in this period where I was like done with it. I wanted to focus on my music again because I had completely stopped. And I kind of just sat down one night and I think I wrote like 2 or 3 songs, but only one of them ended up on the EP. But it was, the start of something that I think was really great for myself. So,
Could you do like a track by track analysis, I guess, of the songs on Depression Nap?
yeah, I'll start from the beginning. So the first song is BB. That song was actually written last. It actually originally was supposed to be a song titled "Let's Pretend This Never Happened," which is actually the phrase that's still on a lot of my merchandise. And I kind of like to joke now that it's like, oh, let's pretend that never happened. But yeah, BB, I wrote kind of in the middle of the recording process. And I just knew that it was a song that I loved and that I wanted to bring into a full band setting. And so I switched it out because I just loved it so much. My mom was actually kind of skeptical of it at first. She was like, I don't know, but when she heard it with the drums and everything, she was like, oh, I see the vision that you were listening to it as. And I was like, thanks. And yeah, that song just kind of came from I don't know, just feeling like certain things wouldn't work out between these certain people, that things were too messed up from one end to another to really make it, I guess, worthwhile. That's kind of how I think about the song, that there's just a lot of judgment kind of going from one end to the other, and that it's just too difficult to work through, and that it's not a good situation, essentially. That's why the next track on the EP, I actually wrote, it's funny because it kind of starts with, I stand in line again, waiting for the band to play. And that line was inspired literally because I went to a show with this guy, and yeah, we actually went to the Space in Hamden, and it was a great show, but obviously the song kind of goes on to say that, he didn't really I guess want me to hang around, and I was just like, oh, cool, see ya.
Yeah.
Where that song came from. And just the fact that at the time I also felt I kind of just pushed a lot of people in my life away to make room for myself. And I was like, yeah, I guess that's why no one stays. So sad.
That's a good message though.
Well, yeah, I mean, I like to end all my songs hopefully with something kind of positive about it, because it's even though there are difficulties, that there's this other perspective to them. So I want to talk to my friends again. I want to make those connections. Give It a Go was written kind of a relationship where I was like, let's just do it. Why not? That's kind of the vibe of that song. And oh boy, just it was a fun song to write. I think mostly I like to think about that song when I think about the construction of it, because it was the most upbeat of the songs and probably the most fun to play overall. And then Tiny Talks was the song that was written, the oldest song, about 3 years ago. And it was kind of a 3/4 ballad, just kind of something slower and something very soulful, and that meant a lot to me. And it has lyrics in there that are definitely just from a time where I was just really going through it, and was about to quit my job and had decided I wanted to quit my job. And that kind of just came out from that. And it definitely was such a relieving experience for me to write that song. It was very nice. And then Rugrats, the last song on the EP, was inspired by a friend of mine. She was kind of going through, I don't know, a lot of personal doubt and things, situations where she felt like she would always be tied to pieces of her family that she didn't want to be tied to. People in her life not treating her or her family that she was close with respect. And I kind of thought to myself that that was such a hurtful thing to go through. And I kind of wrote these lines of, you're not your father and you're not your mother too, because you're always going to be who you are, that you can always be your own person and you never have to take the tendencies from your parents or from anyone in your life just because they're in your life. And yeah, and I think that's like the most hopeful song for me on the EP, because it also kind of ends with like, you're so much more than what you think people think about you. And I feel like I personally am always worried that people are looking at me or judging me for no reason other than I'm just walking down the street. And really, that's not any way that any of us should think, because no matter what anybody thinks about you, you should just know that you are a good person, that you're the person that you want to be in life. Or if you're not, that you're at least doing your best and working towards that, which really is what makes you the best person that you could be, if that all makes sense.
Totally. That's really awesome. And thank you so much for shedding so much light on like the lyrics and the messages of the album, because it felt very potent to me at first, like in a really great way. But to hear you talk about it, it really just kind of like amplifies that. And it's just such a great message. And, you know, there's a lot of like realism and a lot of truths in there that like aren't necessarily painful, but like, you know, maybe a little uncomfortable, but like things that need to be talked about and things that, you know, are important to talk about. And a lot of hope comes out of talking about them.
Exactly. I've used that kind of phrasing before of things that I feel need to be talked about, even if no one really wants to bring it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a really powerful tool as a songwriter.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted people to be able to relate to the songs in different ways than kind of what we usually hear. So I know that was a very important part of the songwriting process to me, was definitely the words and what I felt that people in them.
How would you connect the artwork and the title of the EP to like the songs and the messages?
Yes. So Depression Nap came to me as this phrase actually after the whole EP had been recorded. And I wasn't even I wasn't sure what I was going to do for the artwork. I wasn't sure what was kind of going to go on. The post-production had been delayed because of quarantine, and I kind of just came up with, I don't know, just that phrase, because I feel like I'd heard it before, like, oh, like I'm going to go take a depression nap, or essentially just you sleep more when you're like depressed. That's kind of just something that happens. But it really felt like that was something that was relatable to my life during the recording process, like during quarantine and especially right now. So that came about, and then my friend at the time had given me the idea that I should put a mattress into this like lake behind my school, but we ended up actually throwing my old mattress into this like little river we have behind my house. And so that the mattress on the EP cover was literally the mattress that I had been sleeping in for like 12, 13, I don't know, years. And then I made the artwork because I had a vision of what I wanted it to look like and slapped it into Photoshop and was like, here we go, depression nap.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Like I remember the photo shoot, carrying the bed all the way up the hill to put into the river. Yeah. We did have to throw the bed away, but it was kind of time for it to go. So
yeah.
it's fine.
A good note for it to go out on.
Exactly, yes. It'll always be remembered.
Do you plan on doing the artwork for future EPs and albums?
I honestly hope not, just because I love to see other people's artwork. Like the merchandise that I have is fully other people's art, and although I feel like I'm okay at visual art, that it's not my thing. And I really like to support especially like local people who just have a passion like I do for music, but with their art. So I would hope that, you know, with any future singles and albums that I would be able to find someone that would, you know, connect with me in a way that it'd be like, yes, this is what I'm like looking for at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about the people that did the merch for the t-shirts and the stuff you have on your website?
So for the poster, that poster is actually based off of the song Rugrats, and it was the first piece of merch I'd ever got. It was crazy and a lot of fun. And an old friend of mine from high school had done it, and they're very active in, like, I guess the art community. I know that they went down to Georgia to art school, but they're just really pushing and, trying to get their art out there. Their name is Max Pollock. I can't remember their website, but they do a lot of like very, very cool. I don't know like how to describe it. They have like their own little characters and everything, and I think the colors are just like beautiful, which is why I was like, "Yo, will you please do this? Like, take this concept and make it into something." And they totally did. So it was a lot of fun.
That's great.
Yes, the t-shirts were done by, I can't remember where these people are based out of, but they were done by, I think they were connected to me through this like music girls group. Mm-hmm. So through Facebook, and it was just kind of, I like reached out and I was like, hey, like, can anyone help me make like some artwork for these things? And they were like, yes, like, we are here for you. And I was like, thank you. And they did a great job. Their names were Shannon Conway did the rooftop artwork, and Cassie Potish, my bad. Cassie Potish did the artwork for the Cat Kid one, which is my personal favorite because it's like, I don't know, it's just a cool concept to me.
Yeah.
And I love cats, so.
Yeah, I saw the cat picture on your link tree, and I thought that was pretty funny.
Yes, my profile picture on Instagram is also a cat, just because, why not?
So I guess this is kind of a dated question with like quarantine and everything, but how has the live show evolved from when you were playing solo to playing with other people?
Oh, I still play a lot of solo shows just because I do both. I do like the solo and band thing, and being a solo artist is definitely different from being in a band. I feel like personally, I don't find it as fun. I guess it depends on the situation, but when you really play a good show with a bunch of other people, it's like one of the coolest feelings ever. You just feel so like accomplished. You can like look to everybody else and kind of just like see that they're into it and having a good time, and then that makes you have a good time. And when you're solo, it's fun because you're playing, and I love to perform, but it's also just kind of like I'm just like sitting up there by myself for most of the time. Maybe sometimes people will come up and talk to me, but it depends. Yeah. But playing band shows is just, they're so interactive and community-based.
What would you say is the best place to play in Connecticut?
Well, I personally really liked playing at Max 650, but I know that they closed down recently, which was very unfortunate. Mm-hmm. I haven't played at too many DIY venues, but I know I also enjoyed playing with you guys with Sam and at UHeart and everything. I enjoyed playing at the Space. That was very fun. And I know I was going to play a lot more DIY shows this year if everything hadn't happened, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Kind of just is what it is.
Did you have any favorite acts that you liked performing with, like specifically?
Definitely. I really liked playing with this band, Minus Points. They went by a different name when I played all my shows with them, but then they rebranded and they're Minus Points now. I really enjoyed playing with them. I remember I liked playing with both the acts at UHeart. So Dream Hermit, who's now Street Hockey, and Chad Brown Springer blew my mind. I was like, dang.
Yeah.
And then it was fun to play with Bonsai Trees. I would definitely recommend checking them out too. And similar kind, I forgot, I performed with them, and they, I think her name is Julia, the lead singer. She just has a phenomenal voice and just like so much like spunk. It's like so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
all of those acts I just adore. But we had Chad Brown Springer and Similar Kind play for with Sam as well, like with through that show that you were talking about, the Halloween show last year. But
Yeah.
also from Live from the Lawn, and they're all just really great bands.
I should have like I should have gone to that show. Like they both were there.
Yeah,
That was a good one.
hopefully it'll happen again in the future. But yeah, like we try to do a good mix of like people that we're really like into at the time, but also like great local acts. And we
Definitely.
we have a lot of people on not just with Sam, but like at U Heart that are in that kind of scene.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's awesome that you try to give, local acts a platform and just people that you like in general because we're all working hard and everything.
Yeah, trying our
Yeah,
best.
doing our best.
If you could collab with any one artist, doesn't have to be in the Connecticut scene, it could be anywhere. Who would it be and why?
Ooh, I've never even thought of this. Wow. Man, like that's just so crazy. I guess there's like so many people that I would love to like work with just to even get their like perspective on like things.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure it's a lot different from mine. I don't know, the names that kind of come up to me are Paramore just cuz I would love to be able to write an album like uh I forget their last album name, but just like if I could write something like that, I'd be ecstatic.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it would be fun to work with either Matt Falkowski or Rex Thurston from Litvar and Eel People and from Matt Falkowski. um, yeah, just because I think that they're so creative and I know that they've done a lot of different collabs with like other people and that their music just always somehow comes out like good. They put out so much of it and it's just always good. I'm like, okay, guys, like calm down. Like give me some time. Can't put out an album this fast.
If you could tour with anybody, who would it be and why?
Oh man. I would really like to tour for or with the Front Bottoms. Ever since I saw like Bad Bad Hats playing with them, I was like, man, I was like, this would be really ideal. And I feel like they'd just be really fun guys to talk to in general.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite album out right now?
Yeah, I've been really into listening to Peach Pit. So
Good stuff.
yes, it's difficult for me to listen to sometimes because I'm like, it's so good. It makes me feel bad. I'm like, I got to learn this whole discography and then maybe I'll be on their level. Maybe. But their album Being So Normal and the one that just came out, You and Your Friends, I think is what it's called. But pretty much every song on both of those albums is just so like groovy and so like technically, I guess, perfect. I don't know. It's very good. And I always find like something to listen to. And mostly the guitar is like the thing that like really sticks out to me. And I just love it.
Yeah, I was introduced to them through Being So Normal as well, and I remember Tommy's Party just really connected with me at the time. But it's
Yeah.
definitely the guitar, and I think you summed it up really well. It's like it's got like almost like a jazzy or an angular kind of bass to it, but it also does like the indie sound really well.
Yeah, I would say so. That's very accurate.
So what has quarantine been like for you in terms of consuming media? Like, do you have a favorite video game or TV show or movie or a book?
Huh. Um, I've been doing a lot of things. Mostly I've actually been watching like YouTube. So I haven't
Ooh,
been
okay.
really consuming like TV shows just because I don't know, it feels weird to me to do. But I've been watching movies and I actually just watched Goodfellas for the first time a few days ago. That was a pretty great experience. And I don't know, I've been going back to some classics that I like and definitely just kind of trying to do as much music as I can and do the things that like I love to do, but that also make me feel productive in life.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Do you have any books that like have inspired your lyrics at all?
Not directly. I'm sure in like little ways they have, but usually I don't find that I want to write anything based on a book, but I read a lot, so I feel like there must be something that comes from there, whether it's like words or like concepts that maybe I just don't even know about.
Hmm.
Yeah, I love reading though. So,
Is there any book during quarantine that's really like captured you at all?
let me think. I've actually been reading a lot of film books because I'm very um, interested in film and I like reviewing films and such. So, I read a book called Making Movies, which was by the director Sidney Lumet. He did 12 Angry Men.
Hmm.
And I really liked reading it just because I really enjoy film, but also because music has such a big piece to do with film as well. Like any movie that you watch is so, the mood and the tone and everything is just so based around the music, the sound effects. Like there's a lot more to it than just what you see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you have like maybe a short list of like your favorite movies or your favorite soundtracks to movies?
I don't know if I have a favorite soundtracks. I'm sure they kind of go hand in hand, but
Yeah.
I I would say that okay, so I'd say that probably my like top movies would be like The Departed. I really loved Princess Mononoke and Spirited Away from Studio Ghibli, and I need to rewatch this because I've seen it once and it just kind of blew me away. But No Country for Old Men,
Hmm.
and they specifically don't have a lot of like music or audio, but I was kind of like reading up on that movie as well, and that was also like a very specific choice that they made to keep it very silent. So I want to go back to it very bad.
Yeah, those are the best kind of movies when they really make you need to like rewatch it to see stuff you've missed.
Exactly, that's very true.
Is you have like a favorite restaurant in maybe your hometown or in Connecticut in general?
There's like not surprisingly, but there's a lot of good food in Connecticut.
Hmm.
I think about it and I'm like, man, oh, the first thing that kind of comes to mind is just Mikado, which is a sushi place, just because when I think of like, oh, I'm gonna go out to eat, I kind of think of that. But I'm honestly down for like, I'd go for like a good pizza from the place down the street from me, or like some chicken nuggets, like, or French fries. I'm a very big French fry girl. Like, if you bring me to a place with French fries, I'll probably be happy.
Hmm.
Yes.
I'm gonna switch gears just a little bit.
Yeah.
How important do you think like gear is for not just Quinn but maybe like DIY artists in general and like their sound?
Yeah. I think it's not like the difference between being expressive or not, but it definitely gives DIY artists more possibility to mess around and to find something that they connect to music wise. And personally, I have a few pedals and everything. And I just find that when you play with them, you get inspired in such different ways than just by practicing on your own because it changes the direction of it completely and can really kind of cement your style in like different ways than if you were just practicing. But even not having gear, just because you don't have a piece of gear, like the stuff that you might want, doesn't mean that you can't be a great performer either. Like I wouldn't discourage anyone from being in a band or performing just because they don't have that pedal that they really want.
Yeah.
But it does help. I'd say it's mostly just fun.
Do you have any advice to artists that are like starting to form their first EP or album?
Hmm. From a business standpoint, I'd say make sure you keep your intellectual property. And from a person standpoint, I would say to just make sure that whatever you're creating, you're doing it because it's something that you need to make. And even if it gets difficult and it feels like it's not going to come out the way that you want it, to just do your best and to just remember why you loved music in the first place. To never lose like sight of that at the end of the day.
That's really well said.
I feel like it's something I had to remember throughout just to keep myself going. Like, hey, like I've loved this my whole life. Just because it's like tough right now doesn't mean that I don't anymore. I just need to keep going and I'll find it again. And I did. So if I can, anyone can.
Do you have a dream record label that you would love to sign to?
Fueled by Ramen, which is the record that Paramore signed to. But I'm like, man, if I could make music like that, sick. And just because I feel like the record name is so funny, like they're fueled by noodles, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, which I love. And I would just laugh about that, I think, often.
This might be like kind of a weird question and, put it in your own words, but how do you think Quinn the band differs from Quinn the person?
I'd say, well, Quinn the person is probably pretty shy, like talking about myself in third person. Like shy, not like self-conscious, but just kind of like more like reserved in general. And I would say that band-wise, it's definitely more kind of out there. Like I don't know. It's a very difficult question to say because I am very like a part of the band as well. Like it definitely, the songs and the music are definitely a big piece of me. But the thing that makes the band is just that there's like that sense of like passion from a group of people rather than it just being like myself. And I think that really adds to the music because it's not just like my ideas and like my love being performed on stage. It's like everyone being able to be like, this is music that I enjoy playing. I can add my own stuff into it. And hopefully, I'm hoping that when things are a bit safer, that we will collab and make songs that kind of like even more so take from all of our experiences.
Yeah.
That would be a lot of fun for me.
Did you find that there was like a method of marketing that has been the most helpful for like just booking shows and getting the word out about the band?
I definitely would say that's a difficult one. Because all I try to do when I try to play shows is just kind of like, I might try to like book my own show and then put a few bands on it that I've seen perform or that I've played with before. Sometimes people just reach out to you to see if you want to be on a bill for their show. But really, I think it's just about putting yourself out there if you haven't played shows yet, to try to contact people that you know are playing shows or to just go to shows and to talk to the people there, because really, once you make the smallest connection with anybody, then it just starts building from that. Because they do say that in the music industry, like that connection is a very big thing. And I'd say it's true, because even past the business standpoint, it's like a lot of fun to be able to talk to so many different people that care about and love the same things that you do. But then you also kind of always end up helping each other out, and whether it's with advice or with shows or anything, really.
How would you describe the new EP, Depression Nap, in your own words?
I'd say it's a collection of songs that came from like a hard place, but that they were written and came to be because they needed to be heard. I even was told recently by somebody that they really connected to one of the songs because they had a similar experience that I'd had in my life. And like a very big moment. And I was just like, wow, like, I don't know. It kind of just took me back because I realized that, yeah, like that's why I wanted to write that song, because then maybe like this person would hear it and be like, wow, I relate to that so much. So I feel like Depression Nap as a whole is just it came from a hard place, but it was these stories and these things that I just knew I wanted people to hear, whether they connected with it or not, but especially if they connected with it.
Did you feel like the lyrics on the album went through like a series of rewrites, or are they for the most part like in their original form?
The only song that was changed up a bit was BB. So there was one point where part of the song it was actually like a mumble. Like I knew the melody that I wanted for it, but I couldn't think of what I wanted to say. It didn't fit in, so it took me a few months to come up with the lyrics that would fit into those spots. But aside from that, all the other songs are with their original lyrics. Depending on the song, sometimes I can sit and I can write it, but I'm working on this new song and it's taken me like the most time ever, I feel, to write lyrics. So it doesn't always follow the same path.
What do you think is next for Quinn?
Hopefully, I mean, it's kind of hard to say with everything that's going on because no one really knows when things are going to go back to like normal, I guess you could say. So I'm not 100% sure. But what I do know is that I want to keep writing songs. I want to get together with the band and work with them on stuff. And if possible, play shows at some point. We are doing like a socially distanced release show. So I'm performing with the bassist who recorded on the EP on October 2nd. And it's going to be it's outside so people can stay separate. They can wear their masks. There'll be food and everything. But as far past that, I don't really know because I don't really know what's going to go on. I hope to release maybe a single or two, but who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's where we're all at right now.
Yes, exactly.
Well, we're almost out of time, but I just wanted to give you a moment to be able to shout out anybody that, you feel deserves a shout out, maybe for helping out with the recording process or with any process really. But also like to let anybody who's listening know where they can find your music and your website and your merchandise and everything and anything to keep updated with you.
Got you. I definitely want to shout out bands like Minus Points. I think they're great guys. They have great music. I want to shout out Zach Gomez again because he did the bass on the EP. And literally, if you just listen to the bass on the EP, I would just highly recommend it. I think it's very good. He definitely put a lot of thought into it and is a very talented bassist and performer. And I also want to shout out Sean Fortier because he came up with some of the guitar parts on the EP, or at least specifically for That's Why. And he's in the band Night Crew. And I know that they're coming out with some cool stuff, so definitely go check them out. They have some really great music and some great singles that are out already. And then for myself, on Instagram, you could follow me at QQuinnCT. Pretty much all my other socials are QQuinnCT. But if you really want to get like specific links to them, I have a website. It's just qquinn.com. So that's www.qquinn.com. And that's where you can find me and my face and all that fun stuff.
Thank you so much for your time, Quinn. This has been a really, really great experience.
Thank you for having me. It was fun talking to you.
You too.
This episode of Present Passions was recorded on September 14th, 2020. Special thanks to Quinn Miller. Art by Sam Swap. Audio production by Liam Platt. Present Passions is hosted by Ryan A. Martin.